I'm gonna try to do this in video. I'm not real steady. That's the tip I'm using. If it'll focus. I just take this knife sharpener and kind of sharpen the tip on it because they're going to be a lot more blunt. But you just go fast with it. Use a wood burning kit, not a soldering iron. This one gets 950 degrees. The hotter, the faster you can go with it. And I just lay my borders out with tape and trace them out with a pencil and follow them as close as I can. Do all your framework with a Dremel tool. I have this attachment on the end of mine. Make it easier to use, but it attaches back to a regular Dremel. And I just have that tip on the end of it for like polishing up my undercuts and making them nice. And I use that sander tip to do all the undercuts and accelerator cuts. And then I take 2,000 or 3,000 grit sandpaper and go over it, slick it down. And also wrap your magazine in painter's tape to where you have to force it into the gun. Otherwise, while you're stippling it, it'll heat up the frame and you won't be able to get your mag in and out of the gun easily. Which if that happens, it's not the end of the world. You just take some painter's tape and force it up in there and lightly heat it up with a heat gun, and it'll expand back the way it should be. But to avoid it, it's just good to wrap it with painter's tape. I have forgotten to do that, and it shrink the frame of the gun a little bit. I fix it before though, it's not the end of the world. And just sit here for hours and just tap along. Once you get your borders laid out, that is the most time consuming part. Take your time, get your borders laid out right, trace them in and then fill them in. Once you get all your borders done, you're good to go. And I sand all the finger grooves off on my guns because it kind of, once you do an undercut, it kind of dictates hand placement, which isn't any good. The Gen 5s don't come with them anymore. I sand the whole frame of the gun down slick. It doesn't have to be like mirror finish because you're going to step on top of all that anyway. I take that bevel riser off. I don't know that I'll do that on another gun. You see how it's sleek down the side. I don't know that I'll do that on another gun for the sole fact of I think your support hand kind of rests on it a little bit. I mean, I don't know how much of an advantage it'll actually give you. But it's just all in the finish that you want of the gun. I try to have a fan off to the side running because it blows the smoke away from my face, because you do get a little bit of a plastic burning smell. That gets old after a while. So like it's a little cold tonight, so I've got a little space here, not that far away. And then I've got that little fan over there. You do not, on a fan like that, want it blowing directly on you. That one's about 5 feet away, and it's blowing probably a foot above my work area. If you have it blowing directly on the heat gun and where you're working at, believe it or not, it will cool down the tip of your soldering gun, and you'll notice that it'll get stringy as you're stippling, and it'll take longer. If you notice it start to slow down while you're stippling, let's focus. This tip will get caked up with plastic on it, so you may have to quickly brush it off, and I mean quickly, with a Brillo pad. You can see I've burnt this one a pretty good bit. And just go as fast on it as you can. It doesn't take much because that tip's 950 degrees. And it'll melt that Brillo pad quick, but that'll keep your tip clean. I haven't had to do it in a little while since I've sharpened my tip a little bit sharper. It hasn't been as bad as building up the plastic residue on it. And you don't have to stay consistent. I'm just with the edge of your border. I mean, you can come over here and do some stuff. You'll just fill that in later. That's no big deal. And it may seem crazy to some folks, but it couldn't go off. The mag is loaded, and the weight does help out with it flopping around on the bench. I know that kind of seems crazy, but there's nothing wrong with it. And I gut the entire gun. I take everything out of the frame itself that can possibly be removed except the mag, because when you're grinding on it, you're going to get dust all down in there, and it's 3 pins and you've got the entire gun stripped, the entire lower strip. These things are like Legos. I mean, they can only go together one way. When I start on the other side, laying my borders out, I try to send another video. Courtney has a stand for her phone for taking videos when she's doing calligraphy. I'll probably steal it one night and come down here and make some videos. I kind of got a little antsy laying that border out, and it's not perfect. But I'm going to tape it off, try to get a cleaner edge down through here. And then all of this, I still have to trace this part in, stipple up and around the cut for the slide release, take down through here. And then my favorite part is doing the accelerator cut. That's going to turn out nice. Really like doing the accelerator cuts on the Glock, because it really gives a good spot for your thumb to rest beforehand. And when you get the gun, you can see before I remove this material here, obviously it's as high as that is, but you'll see that little bevel line right there. That's a perfect guide for how deep to sand down your frame on. You can see I kind of tapered it back right here. You won't see that when I put the slide back on the gun. But you want to do it on a low RPM setting on your Dremel tool, and it turns out pretty nice. Just take your time doing this accelerator cut, laying it out with your tape line. I probably erased my pencil line on this, God, 6 times on each side before I got it exactly where I wanted it. And I'll actually sand this part down, because from the factory, of course, Glock already has this bevel for your slide takedown, and I'll actually sand that out just a little bit so it makes it easier when you got to take your slide off. I'll try to post some more videos later.